Hasn't lost a course. Oh, as I said it, there it goes.
Actually, losing
Good
that first Corsair is pretty critical. That can be
Yeah.
bad for the Protoss player. And you're definitely right. I don't know why I was even thinking like 3-hatch mutas. We've been casting so many TVZs. He's obviously getting that 4th and 5th hatchery, so probably actually just going to get some Hydras out, and he just has that Spire to get a couple Scourge to kill off the Corsairs. Right. Although if he kills off a couple Corsairs, he might actually transition into getting Mutalist at that point, just because if you want air dominancy in this matchup, and if you do have it, he might be like, hey, maybe I should build some mutas. Right now, though, just a lot of drones being pumped out, and he's going to have a pretty good economy. What you mentioned with Dark Templar drop, that is, of course, a really good way to hurt a Zerg player in this matchup. DT's a little imba, some people think, but definitely if you can get in there and the Zerg player is careless, it's a good way to just punish a Zerg player for being careless. We do see the Evo Chamber going down, so it does look like we are going to see probably a lot of Hydras with upgrades. I really feel bad for Pure in the beginning, just being set behind economically, because there's not a whole lot you can do as a Protoss player. I mean, unless he were to send a probe early on to that mineral patch to make sure he was watching that wall. Otherwise, unless that becomes standard play for Protoss, there's not a lot a Protoss player can do to see that coming, and you're not going to put a bunch of cans in your main normally. So it's just really unfortunate for Pure, and a good play by Type B just taking advantage of the map to be able to do that.
It's something that it's interesting to me how, oh, there goes another Corsair. That's pretty bad. It looks like Type B is going to try to push out, but these Hydralisks are going to keep him back. Hydralisks are speed upgraded, and range would be on the way if it's not already there. Wow, we see a Archon.
We do see the Archon there, just in case he was going mutas. Yeah, that's the defense against mutas, but he's gonna actually wish he had 2 Templar instead of an Archon here in a second. I think maybe his Templar Archives was a little delayed, so he's gonna have Storm out not too quick, but he's actually trying to use this to push. What's good about this force is if Type B were to have Mutalists, he does have the Archon there to defend his Zealots, and so he can safely push. And obviously the Archon's still a pretty strong unit, but he's not going to be able to work, and the Archon gets sniped off there by all these Hydras. It's just not going to be enough, I don't think, although Zealots versus Hydras are going to be able to push the Hydras back, but if there's even a Sunken or 2 at his main, he's not going to be able to persist with that without the Templar. We do see the first Templar coming out, but I'm pretty sure Storm isn't upgraded yet. Probably be finished pretty soon, though.
Well, right now, both players are fairly equal as far as economy goes. Zerg 3 bases to 2 Protoss is fairly equal. And notice that the 2 other hatcheries were not expansion hatcheries. They were just in base hatcheries. So, I mean, we see a 5-hatch build. We do see a lot of trying to pick off the High Templars. No! Getting both. Oh, only one Storm that does almost nothing getting off there. That is pretty bad. And here come the Lurkers, which just eat up Zealots like nothing.
And Pure's not going to have Observers for a little while. That was huge, like really big to get both those Templars. We do see a couple more Templars coming back in reserve. Some okay, decent Storms, but no Lurkers actually dying. So now those Templar are out of Storms. Lurker's going to be able to push up a little bit. Nice job picking that Lurker up before it buries. But I think we're going to see just a lot of Hydras and a couple Lurkers and Lings just bearing down here. And I don't think Pure's going to have the force without those Templars to back up. He's going to have to fall back to his wall, and then he's going to be contained. We do see a lot more Zealots reinforcing. But again, no Observers, and those Lurkers are just going to be able to keep pushing back that army further and further without Observers or Storm to be able to counter that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's coming through here. He's not going to be able to break the front quite yet, but he's going to do what Zerg loves to do, which get a nice Lurker contained, and there it is going down. And there is a 4th hatchery, or 3rd expansion, 4th mining base going up. So now Zerg is going to have the advantage as far as this goes. He has Overlord speed. We could see some sort of drop going in, although at this point, I mean, I don't think he necessarily needs to. He could elevator some units over those minerals. What I was going to say earlier is that, Zerg is the race that can do a lot of mind tricks. We are going to see a forward hatchery, assumingly for a sunken rush, which we have seen like 2 or 3 other times.
Well, I wouldn't call it a rush, but a sunken contain.
A sunken, offensive sunken contain, exactly. And we've seen it several other times on this map, and I don't know what makes it so popular. I guess it's because you do have a fairly good choke going into the expansion.
It's really just that he's so far ahead that he just wants to have a super solid contain, and he can. It's like, why not? He's so far ahead. It's kind of unnecessary. A lot of players do it when they're really far behind, too, just because they're trying to buy themselves extra time. But in this case, I mean, you could just see Type B doing a really good job macroing. He's got a ton of units already, and he's going to have that 4th base coming up, and wow, the 3rd base is not even up yet for Pure. So he is definitely gonna fall behind. He's gonna have really one point where he can push with Observers and Templars. It's gonna be critical to keep that Observer alive. and it's on the opposing end going to be critical for Pure. It looks like Pure, I think, is coming in for a drop. Was he coming in for a drop? I couldn't see that. Maybe not. Maybe that's just an Overlord moving in. We're seeing the first-person view, so it's making it a little confusing. But basically, Pure's going to have one chance to push out. He's going to have to use his Templar just flawlessly and keep his observers alive to be able to break this. And if he does break it, he can have a chance to win the game. But right now, he's just so contained, and he's just going to wait and build up what he can to get out. But now even more Sunken's coming out. Yeah, it's going to be rough.
I mean, to be honest, we need some dropship play. We need some a multiple attack. And look at that. It's too late now. We have patrolling Scourges on the 12 o'clock and the 3 o'clock all around Pure's base. He's not going to be able to get a shuttle out. He doesn't have the money to invest in Corsairs, not that they cost a lot of money. The Observer, almost Observer going down, one Observer going down. There's still a remaining Observer. I mean, I don't know what I would do as the Protoss player in this case. I mean,
well, there's not much you can do, because whenever a player, you know, these pro players at a high level. Ooh, I don't know if he should be running with Zerglings. I guess he was trying to get rid of those Dragoons up front. That's what he's trying to do, just distract so he can get the Observer. It looks like both Observers down. I don't know if Pure actually has an Observer in the reserve. But what I was going to say is just when you have two players that are of pretty equal caliber, if one player is that much ahead in the economy, he's going to just have so much extra time to do extra stuff. It looks like Pure is trying to push out now. Good storm so far, but I just don't know if he can get past that Sunken wall. Zealots are going to be pretty much useless. They don't want to be going up against Lurkers or those Sunkens. Another decent storm. Observer about to get sniped. Observer goes down again, and he's going to be forced back because he can't attack Lurkers anymore. So I don't know. I mean, he can sit there and attack the Sunkens, but just so many Lurkers there. And, oh, good storm there, taking out one Lurker and almost getting the second one. So Pure doing a pretty decent job of breaking out, but he needs Observers. He does have one more out now, it looks like, but just so many rows of tanks. And there's, oh, he's got to protect that Observer. He does protect the Observer, so nice job. Pure doing what he can. I still don't know if he could actually come back in this game, even if he can break this contain, to be honest.
Pure's looking great. I mean, Pure, after, you know, failing in the beginning, which, as you said, I mean, he could not do a lot about, although he didn't micro too well. He's gotten a lot more, but we see this every time. We see Protoss move out, do fairly well, but then you just can't produce enough units to continually keep wasting them and killing them with, oh, good micro, though. Fantastic micro with the Observer there. Pure has managed to do that a couple times, really save his Observer, which is obviously his breath of life here. And the only hope he has to get out of here is to use the Observers. And he's going to GG anyways.
He's going to GG because he doesn't have the economy to take on the economy of Type B. And it really doesn't matter. You know, he wanted to go out with the last hurrah. Maybe if he would have actually broken that, yeah, he could have continued on. But if you saw up in the top right, Type B, I think, was actually getting his 5th base. Really impressive play by Type B. You know, it all came down to, I think, that early harassment. Pure did a poor job of using his probes to defend. He could have done better with what he had. And, you know, it was unfortunate for Pure, but that just set him behind the entire game. And little things make a huge difference at this level.
I agree. And we're going to go on to Game 2 here. We'll see if Pure can get it to Game 3.